Hello and welcome to this deck tech of Korvold the Fae Cursed King. I hope your coffee is warm because this is actually one of my favorite decks. I think this is a really cool one because Korvold is just so strong. And Korvold was released, I think, to be one of the commanders that is great in Brawl on Arena. But now he's just a cool commander to have. Basically, Korvold says whenever you sacrifice a permanent you draw a card. Also, Korvold grows with the +1 counter by then. Korvold has flying, so he can become a very menacing threat, definitely with commander damage sometimes. Seems a bit harsh to get him to 21 damage, but I promise you this is doable. And of course you have multiple turns to attack people sometimes. And whenever Korvold enters or attacks, you have to sacrifice another permanent. This might seem like a drawback, but really it's an upside with Korvold. Because whenever he enters, you sacrifice another permanent, you get another card, and he already is a 5/5. So can become a very menacing threat very early. So let's go one by one. We have board wipes. For board wipes, I would say these ones are the best. So Structural Assault is a really cheap one, which is to me a bit weird because it can destroy all artifacts, and then Structural Assault will deal damage to each creature equal to the number of artifacts that were put into graveyards from the battlefield this turn. Now, thing is, you will be very good at making a bunch of artifacts like treasures or something like that. And Structural Assault, aside from just destroying all artifacts on your opponent's side, will also be triggered by the amount of artifacts that you put on into the graveyard from the battlefield this turn. So sacrificing a bunch of artifacts, that will help you to deal a bunch of damage, and this will be a very good board wipe because of it, but also you will just be destroying a bunch of artifacts from your opponent's side sometimes. So I really like this one, especially since we can sacrifice our artifacts for the greater good. Calling Ritual I really like. It's just a dollar. And it's so strong because it's for 4 mana you get to destroy each permanent with mana value 2 or less. Now this would seem like a very big drawback on a board wipe, but oftentimes you can destroy a bunch of things and then add black or green mana for each permanent destroyed this way. Now again, with the treasures you will just get the mana still, of course, but there's also a possibility to have a clue token if you didn't want to draw and then get a mana from that, or of course destroy all of your opponent's weak stuff so that you can get mana from them. And then of course it will be very easy to play another spell after that. Blasphemous Act, I think it's a classic one. And One Ring to rule them all. I put this in decks that have mostly a big focus on their commanders, and as we want to sacrifice a bunch of stuff, many of the things that we have, the creatures, aren't really that important anyway. We really focus on our commander to be the big creature to attack our opponents with. So One Ring to rule them all at the second chapter will destroy all non-legendary creatures, so skipping your commander and others as well, but it will still destroy a bunch of things that we want to have destroyed. Of course, also we get to be tempted by the ring. Then we can choose a ring bearer, and of course, as our commander will be very strong, we can have each player mill a bunch of cards. Now this isn't really good all of the time, but if we can make use of our own graveyard, then at least we are on par with what is happening with our opponent. So this is a little bit situational, but as we are in black and we focus, well, of course you will be in black with this card, but we can build around the reanimation part, and we have a very strong commander. I think this will be very good. Also, the third chapter will have our opponents lose a life for each creature card in their graveyard. And of course, as we have made them mill a lot, this will deal a lot of damage. Also, Crux of Fate will go into anything running around dragons, and our commander is a dragon. So as we are focused on our dragon commander, I think Crux of Fate will be very good in that manner. Card draw, I have the classic Knight's Whisper, which is this card draw filler for me. breaks sort of his card draw, but says at the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice an artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker, and we love sacrificing stuff. Of course, this will also trigger our commander to draw us a card and put a +1 counter on Korvold. And then, if you do sacrifice one of these things, each opponent may sacrifice a permanent of their choice that shares a card type with it. So if your opponents don't have artifacts, you can try to sacrifice another artifact, because for each opponent that doesn't sacrifice one of those things, that player loses 2 life and you draw a card. So you will be able to draw 3 cards with this sometimes. So it is going into card draw. Skull Clamp, of course, is great. Isn't really about sacrificing stuff, but as we have a bunch of stuff we want to sacrifice, a bunch of weak stuff too, this is really good because we can then draw 2 cards every time. It's basically our commander's effect anyways. Diabolic Intent allows us to look for something, but we have to sacrifice a creature. This is actually an end in this deck. And Black Market Connections is very strong in Commander because you have a bunch of life to pay for it. You will need to pay 2 life to draw a card, but you can do this at every beginning of your pre-combat main phase. And then you can pay 1 life to create a treasure token, which you can then of course sacrifice to draw a card. So that is even better than just drawing a card. And or hiring a mercenary, which you can then also sacrifice if you want. You can also, it will also be a changeling, so it will also be a dragon for that Crux of Fate, which is, I guess, one of the things that synergize at least a bit. For Haste, I have 3 things. We have Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots, which is of course just classic stuff, and Rhythm of the Wild, which is very good because we can play it before we play our commander and then immediately attack, meaning that we get 2 of those sacrifice triggers already, and I like them on our commander. For lands, I have a bunch of swamps, way more. I have Evolving Wilds because it allows you to sacrifice the land to search a library for whichever basic you need. And things like this are very good. So I also have Riveteer's Overlook, which will allow us to is basically an Evolving Wilds for us. Cinderglade is a land that enters tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands, and we have enough for this to work. Smoldering Marsh, also same thing, but for red and black. And then Exotic Orchard, Command Tower, I think Savage Lands basically allow us to pay any mana. Terramorphic Expanse is another one of those sacrifice lands. Reliquary Tower is a way to have not a maximum hand size, and we will be drawing a bunch, so this is strong too. And then Stomping Ground, Overgrown Tomb, Bloodcrypt, very good lands of course, bit expensive, but if you can get them, get them. And then Seatora's Proving Ground is a tap land that gets us any one of our preferred colors, and can be cycled for 3 mana if we need it to be. Now, we need to win the game, and this commander has a pretty high salt level, but I think that is mostly because many players don't know how to play him, and you will need a bunch of things, I would say at least 7, that ping your opponents whenever you sacrifice something. So either whenever something dies, or whenever you actually sacrifice something, or whenever something enters the graveyard. So we have Bastion of Remembrance. This creates a 1/1. Can also be sacrificed itself if you need to. But also you can sacrifice the 1/1 of course. And then whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses a life and you gain 1 life. I think for aristocrat strategies this should be more expensive. But it is really cheap and it is an uncommon. I think that is mostly the reason why it is so cheap. But I think it will be very good in this deck if you give it a bit of time. Mayhem Devil, basically a bit weaker because it says deal 1 damage to 1 target, but it can be any target, so you can kill creatures with it too. It also works whenever another player sacrifices something, so that could happen. Poison Tip Archer says whenever another creature dies, so not happening on your treasures and stuff. Which did happen with the Mayhem Devil, which is I guess also an upside for it over Bastion of Remembrance. But Poison Tip Archer also deals 1 damage to each opponent. Mirkwood Bats does it whenever you create or sacrifice a token, and you will do that a lot. Marionette Apprentice gives you one of those tokens, basically not really looking to put a +1 counter on the apprentice. And then whenever another creature or artifact you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. So this doesn't work with like the other marionette creature, where it deals extra damage if it has extra power. So that's why you never put a +1 counter on the apprentice. Sulipot board Cutthroat says whenever another creature you control dies, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. Hearthhold the World Seed is of course a new one. This one says that for 1 mana you can sacrifice a land and draw 2 cards. So that's of course very strong, as you will draw 3. You may then also play an additional land this turn, which you will probably find by drawing 3. And if you have stationed it up to 8+, you get to have it become a creature. So it will become a Flying Vigilance Haste 6/7. And gets the ability to, whenever you sacrifice a land, each opponent loses 2 life. So that's another win con in that manner. Blood Artist, whenever this creature or another creature dies, target player, so 1 player loses a life and you gain a life. I have no idea why this is more expensive. I feel like that is because it's a vampire and it goes in Edgar Markov. But we also have Goblin Bombardment, which is a sacrifice Sir, so it can sacrifice a creature at any point in time, and then Goblin Bombardment deals 1 damage to any target. Of course, you can kill your whole board and then hopefully kill an opponent to have this be a finisher and reach in that manner. For ramp, we have a bunch because our commander is very expensive at 5 mana, if I did remember correctly. Yeah, at 5 mana. So we need a bunch of ramp. We have Heaped Harvest, which is 3 mana to whenever it enters or leaves the battlefield, or when you sacrifice it, you may search a library for a basic land. So 3 mana to get another land. Next turn you can play your commander and sacrifice Heaped Harvest to get another land. That's a pretty cool play pattern to me. Harrow sacrifices a land to have you search for 2 basics. Sakura Tribe Elder can sacrifice itself, which is very good because then you can wait until your commander is out on the battlefield and sacrifice Sakura Tribe Elder whenever you want after that. Of course, you might need it to ramp into your commander, and then that won't work. Springbloom Druid is 3 mana to, when it enters, sacrifice a land and search for 2 again, but also is a 1/1 that you can then sacrifice later. Awakening Zone makes a 0/1 that you can sacrifice to add mana at the beginning of every one of your upkeeps. So this will create 1 thing that you can sacrifice for your commander later, whenever you want later. So that enables you to draw a bunch of cards too. So it's basically at the beginning of your upkeep, draw 1. So we know Phyrexian Arena, which does this, but this is basically better for us. Culling Ritual we have talked about. Ignoble Hierarch is a creature that also taps for any one of your mana things, colors. So that is very good in that manner. Sol Ring, of course, because I am following people putting Sol Rings into my decks. Horizon Explorer, 3 mana to have your lands enter untapped. That's a thing that could help you in this deck. Whenever you also attack a player, create a lander token and you can sacrifice that for 2 mana to search your library for a new basic land. So basically whenever you start attacking someone, you also get something to sacrifice whenever you need. That I really like. Nature's Lord, 2 mana to search for a forest. Antis Restoration, 3 mana to sacrifice a land, then search a library for up to 2 basic lands. If you control your commander or another creature with power 4 or greater, instead you search for 3, put them onto the battlefield tapped. So that is really, really good, in this deck especially. Goldspan Dragon, 5 mana for a dragon that can create treasure tokens for you, but also will empower your treasures to add 2 mana of any color. Ashnod's Altar can sacrifice a creature at any time. I really like those effects and I want enough in my deck, but then also creates Sol Ring mana for you. Next up, Reanimation. Might need a bit more in this deck actually, but I haven't found enough cards that do double duty yet. But I am increasing this whenever I can. Victimize allows you to choose 2 target creatures in your graveyard, and you just need to sacrifice 1 creature to get those 2 back. Dread Return is return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield, but you can then also flashback this by sacrificing 3 creatures, which will just help you. Ruthless Technomancer is 4 mana, and then when it enters, you may sacrifice another creature you control. And if you do, you create a number of treasure tokens equal to that creature's power. So sacrificing a big creature in this manner will allow you to get enough treasures for that second ability, where you sacrifice X artifacts, which you have a bunch of, to return target creature card with power X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield again. So this can be a sort of loop in this manner. X cannot be 0, so you can't get a 0 mana creature back, or 0 power creature back, sorry, whenever you want. Reanimate, 1 mana to reanimate something. Really strong, a bit expensive, so if you want more synergy over deck cost, you can switch this away, of course. Removal, I have 10. I think you need a bunch, but in these colors, basically Rakdos, you will need a bunch too, because you are strong colors for it. And weirdly, Golgari is a very strong color combination for removal too. Green doesn't feel like the color for removal, but as it doesn't, I feel like there's a bunch of them that are just very effective. But Abrade, a red one, says destroy target artifact, or you can deal 3 damage to target creature. But I feel like artifact removal is underrated. A Putrefy also can destroy artifacts or creatures. They can't be regenerated. Fetus Swarm just destroys target creature or enchantment. Destroying enchantments also very good, definitely in these colors again, but green is very good at it itself. Infernal Grasp, destroy target creature, you lose to life. Reclamation Sage enters and then allows you to destroy an artifact or enchantment. Also is a creature that you can then sacrifice. Terminate I really like because it's just so effective at 2 mana to destroy target creature. Chaos Warp can destroy any permanent, but then your opponent gets something back. Beast Within, basically the same, but your opponent gets something weaker back, so it's a bit better actually. Abrupt Decay, destroy target non-land permanent with mana value 3 or less, and then Assassin's Trophy, destroy target permanent and opponent controls, but they get a land. Now we need a whole bunch of things that allow us to make things to sacrifice, because very often in this deck, with this commander at least, you run out of gas. So we need things like Bastion of Remembrance that create 2 things that we can sacrifice. Tireless Tracker will create a thing to sacrifice whenever a land you control enters. Precious Bounty will allow you to, for each land control, create a treasure. Now this can very easily go off as we have a bunch of ramp that gets us land too. Playcrafter, I think just forces things to sacrifice, but it can also sacrifice itself, so I put it in here. Squee the Immortal can be sacrificed anytime, of course, and then you can cast it from your graveyard or from exile, so it never goes away, and I really like that for this deck. Pitiless Plunderer, really good. Whenever another creature you control dies, you create a treasure token. I don't know why this isn't spiking even more, but I guess because it has been reprinted a few times. But this is just so good in Aristocrat decks. Maybe Aristocrats just isn't a popular thing anymore because you need at least 2 things for it to work. And that's just a bit too many cards for many Magic players. Mahadi Emporium Master says at the beginning of your end step you create a treasure for each creature that died this turn, and a bunch of creatures will die in your games. Tireless Provisioner Landfall to create a food or a treasure token, which both can be sacrificed, but sometimes you just need I guess, some life, but usually we'll create treasures with this. Chatterfang, of course, will allow you to create extra 1/1 scrolls whenever 1 or more tokens you will be created. So all of your landers or treasures or foods will bring with them another 1/1. Witch's Oven will create a food from a creature. This means you can sacrifice something, draw a card, get a food, then sacrifice the food, and draw another card. So this is really good. Professional Facebreaker, of course, allows you to create a treasure token when it deals common damage. But mostly we are using this for the sacrificing ability of a treasure, where you can then also exile the top card of your library to play it. Maybe get a land, get another token, and you can see how this can go off. For sacrificers, we have seen many already, of course, but Viscera Seer is a new one, which can instantly sacrifice a creature for you to try one. Again, we need enough of those effects. Warren Soul Trader is new. We haven't talked about it. I mean, it says pay 1 life, sacrifice another creature, then you create a treasure token. So sacrificing a creature, creating a treasure, maybe creating another treasure, or maybe creating another 1/1 extra. And then you can sacrifice those things. I really like treasures here because you can sacrifice them at any time. You will get an extra mana as well. And then draw a card. That just means that you are going off. So that was it for the deck. Let me know what you think about the deck. And let me know if you are having a nice day today. Because I hope you do. Have a nice day. And thank you for watching again. Bye.